Shalom Yasharallah, this is your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. A salutation, much love for you, Aki, and pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth, and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here article real quick, which is showing, how this end time is shaping up. We've been, going into a couple of these articles and things like that as we're hearing about the wars and the rumors of wars and things like that. But, like the scriptures say, the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. Now we're dealing with that, and, like the scripture prophesy about, America's allies or the beast hating the whore, going into NATO, all right, the members of NATO and things like that. And also some of America's other allies, all right, turning against America, all right, and all of them going to shoot their arrows at America, all right. But nevertheless, we've seen over time, Turkey, all right, acquiring the S-400 from Russia, despite what America wanted, all right. You see them actually starting to make deals with Saudi Arabia over this S-300 as well. Both of those being America allies and things like that. All right, now here's another one, all right, where we've already been, talking about these things in the long term, whether it be, because like with the F-35 situation, right, there are all these nations are how do I say, put into a situation where they have to buy this here plane, right? Well, France and Germany wanted to have a joint deal to create their own plane and sell that for them to get some money up off of that, right? But America was like, nah, hell nah. All right, but then you also had like with the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, all right? They wanted to get gas and everything from basically Russia, all right? But America's basically saying they're going to put sanctions on them. Well, these nations are looking out for the best situation for themselves, all right? And they're realizing, they're waking up from that drunken stupor from listening to America and their Babylonian, the Babylonian juice, the nations have drunk enough for wine, therefore the nations are mad. All right, they're starting to wake up from these things and realize that, hey, following after America ain't doing nothing good for them. It's only bringing them down. All right, and, the so-called enemy that they've been pumped up to believe is their enemy is actually not really their enemy at all. In fact, their so-called enemy can benefit them. All right, so let's read this here article real quick and we'll jump into some scriptures. It says, France calls for new European order. All right, so again, hey, at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come and will not tarry. All right, but nevertheless, you would never think that you would see these American allies and NATO and stuff like that, all right, which they were set up to combat with Russia, all right, start making deals with Russia. All right, it says the French leader has marked the beginning of his country's presidency of the EU with a call for a new European order. All right, and there's not just France and Germany that's thinking like this, because hell, you had the Brexit situation. All right, a lot of these countries are starting to wake up and break off from this here block, man, or wanting to get away from this block, or not just get away from the block, but they want to deal with basically Russia, who, you have this whole, like the whole NATO bloc is really only against Russia. All right. It says French leader Emmanuel Macron has marked the start of his country's presidency of the EU by calling for a frank dialogue with Russia. All right. Frank going into, like France, but it says which he deemed necessary for building a new rules-based European order. Our continent's security requires strategic rearrangement of our Europe as a force of peace and balance. All right, when they say peace and safety, all right, particularly in our dialogue with Russia, all right, because the whole time, they've been being brainwashed. Russia's the problem, Russia's the problem, Russia's the problem. We need to create NATO to protect y'all, the EU, because it's a bunch of small European countries against Russia. Russia's the threat against y'all. Russia could take y'all out and so on and so forth. If we don't all band together and then band together with America, Russia can take y'all out. But again, Russia's not really aggressing. It's not being an aggressor. If anything, they're trying to offer them, things to make them better. All right. It says, our continent's security requires a strategic rearrangement of our Europe as a force of peace and balance, particularly in our dialogue with Russia, Macron said in a speech on the European Parliament in Strasbourg on Wednesday. He explained that he has been making this point for several years. All right, but hey, now it's coming to, the vision yet for an appointed time. Now at the end, it's starting to speak. Now they're starting to move towards these things. All right. And look at this here title up here. It says, read more. Germany, all right, wants to normalize relations with Russia. See, they're all pretty much in the same spirit right now, man. All right, the Lord is working on the minds of these kings to move into his, his way, his agendas. All right. It says for us and for Russia, for the sake of the security of our continent, which is inevitable, we need this dialogue, Macron said, adding that it should be a frank and demanding dialogue in the face of destabilization, interference, and manipulation. All right, basically, without America, all right, because what? America sort of, they keep using this word frank. You can use the word frank. It's like, hey, we're being frank about it. But also, there's a term that they use about them, but saying, hey, this dialogue need to be, when dealing with us in France, we need to be in control of this here conversation, because the way it is now, none of them really have a voice. America's like, yo, if y'all deal with them, we gonna put sanctions on anybody, even our own allies. If y'all go like with the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, hey, y'all want to mess with that? If y'all want, we'll put sanctions on anybody who deal with that, even our own allies. And the allies are like, bro, that's you about to make us. Why we got to keep dealing with you with these situations? You're just bankrupting our country. It's not really helping us out, man. And Russia's not really a threat to us, man. All right. It says that it should be frank and demanding dialogue in the face of destabilization, because America's threatening to destabilize them or making them spend more money for cheaper resources, interference, and manipulation, all right, caused by America. According to the French president, cooperation with Russia must be based on principles and rules to which we agree and which we acted not against, not without, but with Russia 30 years ago. So they're trying to go like, look, bro, this what we've been doing this whole time has not really been working out, not really been faring well for us, all right? It says this new system, Macron argued, should be free of threats, coercion, and spheres of influence, and will give states a free choice when it comes to the membership of organizations or security agreements while guaranteeing their territorial integrity, all right? Basically what he's saying is, let me reread it in different words. The new system, Macron argues, should be free of threats from America, coercion, sanctions, all right, from America, spheres of influence, also going into sanctions and war, and will give states free choice when it comes to memberships of organizations or security agreements, like being with NATO or being with Russia, all right, while guaranteeing their territorial integrity. Like, yo, if we don't listen, y'all going to just try to come and invade us, all right? He suggested that the new order of security and stability should be first discussed within the EU, all right, and within the NATO framework before being proposed for negotiation with Russia. So, hey, man, these EU members are pretty much thinking of what's going to be more beneficial for them, all right? He also said that France would continue to work with Germany within Normandy format to find political solution to conflicts in eastern Ukraine, which, in his words, remains the source of the current tensions. Macron's latest rhetoric sounds different from the stance of the U.S. and the NATO bloc it dominates. Really just the U.S. Because, again, like I said, the rest of these people, they don't really want to be dealing with this no more. Not really. They don't have a problem amongst each other. They just got a problem with America. America's the one problem that they have, right? It says growing tensions between Russia and Western countries over the situation in Ukraine were not resolved during a series of talks that took place last week between the diplomats from Russia and the U.S. and the 30-member military pact. Really, they just following after whatever America says, right? America saying, well, let me keep reading. It says, Moscow has requested written guarantees that the bloc will not expand further eastward. Meanwhile, American intelligence services and the country's popular media have been pushing allegations of supposed imminent Russian invasion of Ukraine. The Kremlin has denied these reports, calling them misinformation. And really, hey, Russia's just saying, like, stop advancing towards our borders and circling around about us. But America's saying, nah, we won't agree to that, man. We're going to keep surrounding you. We're going to keep putting our missiles up on your border. We're going to keep surrounding you until we just pretty much dominate you, man. And Russia's saying, look, bro, just back off. All right. But these other nations are realizing, like, yo, if we don't do something about these things, we might receive some of this here blowback. And really dealing with Russia is actually a benefit for them. All right. So let's just jump into some scriptures real quick. All right. Let me start up here again in verse 3. It says, Matthew 24:3, it says, and he sat upon the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, what shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming in the end of the world? Jumping down to verse 6. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So this is a time, we can speak on a lot of these other things, but just getting to the point. This is a time right now where we're hearing about wars and rumors of wars, whether it's in Estonia, Belarus, Ukraine, all these different places right now. And it's all between basically America encroaching on the borders of Russia, man. All right. And Russia's standing up to defend themselves. All right. But not only that, we have these other prophecies coming to pass. Let me read this first real quick. In Habakkuk 2:3, It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. All right, one of these prophecies that's coming to pass right now is dealing with, America and their allies, because, a lot of their, you would think that these people would basically route it out all the way unto the end. But getting here straight to the point, in Revelation 17 and 16, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast. Let me go up real quick. Revelation 17 and 3, it says, so he carried me away in the spirit in the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon the scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. All right, so just roughly, quickly going into that real quick, you have, think of it this way, a horse and a horse rider, the jockey or whatever. The jockey is controlling the horse, moving the horse wherever it goes, right? Now, the horse would basically be NATO and the EU, right? Now, the whore or the horse rider in this scenario will be America. America's leading the NATO bloc, all right? You don't see like France and none of them going to war and dragging NATO along with them. You see America waging war and all these other countries dragged into the conflict, and they don't benefit from none of these situations. But nevertheless, now you're starting to see, let me read it real quick. Revelation 17 and 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. All right, and this is the point where we're coming into right now. They're starting to make talks and concessions with like, yo, maybe we should start dealing with Russia instead of dealing with America. All right, so it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore and make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. All right, so going into just going into this here prophecy real quick, we seeing these things starting to shape up. The vision yet for an appointed time, like we just read. All right, you would have never thought that, American allies would just leave them out there like that. You would think they would route it out all the way to the end. But now, these nations, let me go and grab that real quick in Jeremiah 51, verse 7. It says, Babylon have been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. All right, so going into that, they all follow after America's philosophies and, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll follow after you if somebody wage war against you, because, each of those those European countries are relatively small, all right, and they was given the situation, oh, Russia could invade you, Russia could do this, and Russia could do that, we need to band together. So if Russia ever threatens you guys, that, we'll all band together against them. But over the last couple of years, it's not that Russia's been advancing against those European countries. It's America advancing against the Russian borders, man. All right, bringing Russia out to war, basically, man. All right, but nevertheless, Russia is standing here to be able to be, in a sense, to benefit these nations, man. All right, so now, America's pretty much, these nations are starting to wake up from the deal that they've been given. All right, now they're starting to choose sides, and the sides that they're starting to choose, let me go ahead and grab that too. The sides they're starting to choose is over here with Russia. Obadiah 1 and 7. And the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. All right, because, hey, they said they was going to stick it out with him all the way into the end. But now they starting to draft up deals with Russia and have talks about joining forces with Russia. It says, and they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is no understanding in him. All right, so ultimately, we starting to see these things shape up, man. All right, where is it at? I think it's... Give me a second. Oh, here we go, right here. Jeremiah 50 and 9 says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. See, they're going to be led by Russia, right? But an assembly of great nations, right? And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. The arrow shall be as a mighty expert man, and none shall return in vain. All right, so ultimately, all these nations are going to wind up turning their missiles and shooting them at America and making her desolate, man. All right, like we just read, hey, these shall hate the whore and burn her with fire, man. All right, so ultimately we see that America's allies, are now starting to shift position and position themselves alongside with Russia, man. They're starting to see that the so-called enemy is not their enemy, but their enemy is now becoming their friend, and their so-called friend wasn't their friend to begin with, man. All right, now they're looking at Americans like, oh, wait, this is the reason. This is the problem throughout the whole earth, man. All right, now they're starting to stand up in unison against what? America, man. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I say, call halal, Yahal, Bahashim, Yahweh Bahashim, Rakakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation, much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Till next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.